Hey everyone, welcome to Financial Revolution Radio, where we are helping you transform into a financial revolutionist. This is the place where we free one financially enslaved person at a time. Welcome to today's show. I am your host, Jaden Sterling. I'm so happy to be here with you today. July 7th, 2020. Wow, what a year it's already been. I thought I'd create a show to share with you a little bit about my background, what we want to accomplish with this radio show, and how we can serve you along the way. So I started out with a very clear understanding and epiphany about what I would do with my life. It happened in the blink of an eye. It's like if you've ever had one of those moments where time stood still, literally, this is what happened to me. Time stood still, and I had an awareness that I would be working with people around the topic of money and assisting people to be financially free and not be enslaved with money. And my next clear knowing was that I'd be teaching from personal experience, not from a book I read or a course that I took. So literally, this paved my whole path in life, my whole future, and is exactly what got me here today, some 38 years later, as I sit here and talk with you. So that was my destiny moment with money. It was significant. It was impactful. It meant a lot to me in terms of, that I was going to take seriously what my purpose is. So but it was an interesting thing because growing up, I had a very mixed messages. I saw and heard mixed messages when it came to money. My mother was very free with money, would spend it like crazy, to her, it was like an open faucet and there was no shut off valve there. But my dad was very different. He was someone who was very frugal with money, not generous, someone who, but definitely kept it to himself and wasn't as free with money. So imagine growing up in a household like that where I saw two very conflicting views and strategies with money. So for me, I looked at both of those situations and I decided early on, I'm not going to be like either one of those people. I, with all respect to my parents, but I really knew that I would have to pave my own way when it came to money. And like other kids at an early age, 15, 16 years old, my goal was let's just make a lot of money, right? I just thought if I could just go and make a lot of money, then woohoo, life would be great. I'd be set. There would be no stopping me, and I'd be happy. I actually equated happiness with money. I don't know if you've ever made that mistake at all, but I did. And it was just out of not really knowing or understanding about the energy of money. I had no idea. Didn't get this teaching in high school. The only thing they taught us was how to write a check. But they never taught us that we had to have a certain amount of capital or cash or money in an account to cover those checks, right? Ever have that experience? It's like, oh, there has to be something somewhere. I just can't write a check and give these checks out. So needless to say, you probably had a similar experience in your upbringing or your education where there is no education about finances. So then came time, when I rolled into college, and I had a small job. I didn't have any money, but I got a credit card. And this was to me, this was like, oh yeah, I must be on the right path because, I got a credit card. I was 18 years old and I could use it and it would buy me things and I didn't have to pay for it. How cool was that? Until I got my first bill. Oh boy. That was a big journey for me with credit cards. It was my first lesson in understanding about compounded interest. Now, if you know about compound interest, that's awesome because, back when I was at it, I had no clue. All I knew was, wow, I had a $500 balance on my credit card. If I just paid $20 this month, I could keep that balance going, right? Keep it open. But what I didn't know was my minimum payment wasn't even enough to cover the interest expense on that $500. So my interest was compounding. So it was money on top of money on top of money that I was being charged. Oh, what a nightmare that was. So eventually, though, my credit cards debacle came to a screeching halt when I went to a grocery store. I must have been about 21 years old. And actually, no, I was about 19. And I tried to use my credit card at checkout. And she said, "Excuse me, sir, do you have another card? This isn't working." And I said, "No, I don't. I don't have another card." So I went outside and I called the number on the back of the credit card in a phone booth. It was back in the day, we had these things called phone booths. And the credit card company basically said, "No, we are not going to increase your limit. In fact, you're over your limit. So, make sure to get a payment to us quickly," that kind of thing. So I was so embarrassed that I basically didn't even go back inside to tell her I couldn't pay for my groceries. I jumped in my little 1968 Chevy Chevette, a little beater car, and drove home and just literally cried my eyes out. And I said, I have got to figure out this money thing. Because I remembered that time that stood still when I was 14 years old, and that time that I was totally clearly told what I would be doing. And yet I had no idea about money. I was making mistakes left, right, and center, and I was having a really challenging time with this. So that drive home was interesting. I also promised myself during that drive home, I'm going to figure out this money thing. If it's the last, I remember my words to myself, if it's the last thing I do, I'm going to figure out this money piece. And so I was teaching at that time tennis. I was a tennis pro at a club in Fort Lauderdale. And I remember seeing, I'd always ask the members because, these were, they drove nice cars. They had nice watches on their wrists. They were members of this country club, whereas I was an employee. And I would ask all of them, what do you do? What is it that you do so well that you can enjoy this country club and be a member with your family and come here and spend the weekends and have a good time? And they said one of two things. They said, I either heard I'm a doctor or I'm a stockbroker. Now, I knew I couldn't, doctor wasn't it for me. I can't stand the sight of blood. And not only that, but I dropped out of college. Actually, my scholarship was cut because of the stock market crash in 1987, interestingly enough. So I couldn't continue school. So I decided, that's what brought me to Florida to teach tennis. And I decided in that moment, okay, I'm going to, whatever a stockbroker is, that's what I want to do with my life. So that put me on a path of trying to figure out, and I knew nothing about investments. And oddly enough, my father's father was president of Maryland National Bank for many years. And at one point, my dad even worked for him, but it was still never discussed around the dinner table. We never talked about money. I never heard about money. I had no clue about money. All I knew was, for the most part, people went out and got a JOB, which I now understand stands for just over broke, right? They went out and got a JOB and worked, right? Worked for someone, and that was it. Had 2.3 kids, bought a house, and you're supposed to live happily ever after, that kind of situation. So that's the indoctrination that I got when I was younger. It was a clear message: go to school, get a good job, start a family, yada, 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 etc. And wow, did I find out that was like one of the worst advice decisions I could have ever made. In fact, I'm grateful that my scholarship was cut at American University so that I didn't have to go through my entire schooling 4 years to get a degree in order to get a good job, because I found myself able to get a good job through my contacts. So I started, when I asked these members at the club, oh, you're a stockbroker. Okay, well, and my next question was, is your firm hiring? Finally, someone said, actually, yes, we are hiring. Go and talk to so-and-so. So he got me a connection, got me an in to talk to the manager. And the manager had me across from his desk and just grilling me with questions, like just really intense. And I remember being nervous, and I was thinking, oh, I don't know about this. This is really an intense thing. So he asked me one question, which was, what are you going to do if I don't hire you? And then his phone rang and he picked up his phone and he was like, yeah. And then it gave me a minute, to think. And I was like, I'll just go to the next firm. So I said, so he hangs up the phone. He goes, well, what are you going to do if we don't hire you? And I said, I'll just go to the next firm. And he said, that's what I want to hear. You're hired. So that started my entire career working on Wall Street. And boy, did I learn a lot. It opened my eyes to the business, to how crooked the brokerage industry is and how the brokerage industry is built to make money off of you, not for you. So it completely opened my eyes and it taught me a valuable lesson. And I love to hear stories of successful people. Every time I had a client come in with a portfolio of $1 million or more, I asked them the same questions. Wow, how did you get this money? What did you do? What is it that made a difference in your life financially? And they all told me. It was remarkable. So I heard things like, I own a business. I have employees. First thing to open my eyes a little bit to this financial job thing. But here I am, 21, 22 years old, still a kid in some respects, but in other respects, building a very solid business in an industry that literally changed my life and will change yours, I guarantee it. So as I learned this, I learned they're business owners. And I also recognized that when they brought their portfolio into the brokerage firm, it was mostly in 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 stocks. Individual companies, big names back then. I mean, this is the early 90s, but there was John Deere, there was Coca-Cola, IBM, General Electric, these very large corporations. And it was fascinating to me. They owned shares of these companies, millions of dollars worth of these companies. And yet, when their portfolio came into us, we were told, liquidate the stocks and diversify their assets. Diversify, right? Diversify. Now, you've heard that. If you've ever talked to a broker or a banker or an insurance broker, everyone's talking diversification. And I have to tell you, diversification is one of the first lies sold to you. And you, as a financial revolutionist, need to know this. Diversification keeps you broke. The key is concentrated assets in a portfolio, individual companies that you control, not the broker or the banker. Anyway, I'm getting fired up, as you can tell. But I learned a lot. I learned from these people and I started implementing what they told me. And I started to buy stock, and I bought one stock and I had no idea it would triple during the decade of the 90s. And that one stock was Citigroup. And that stock allowed me to retire at 31 years old, to get out of the industry completely because I was so fed up with the corruption and the ridiculousness in the industry that I was able to get out and now hone and put my skills to work because I knew I have a purpose. And my purpose is going to be expressed as I develop a business on my own. That was really what was in my heart at that time after I retired from Citigroup when I was 31. I really wanted to develop a business. I wanted to play with the energy of money. I wanted to learn how this money game works. And the only way that we can learn really is by doing, right? That's how I learn best. I just have to jump in there And I'm like, I'll figure it out somehow, right? And that's literally what I did. I jumped into the role of a business owner. I started hiring employees and I started buying real estate in an area that I felt would be up and coming, although it didn't look that way at the moment. It was highly depressed area economically. And, but it still felt to me like a good opportunity. And I thought, what do I have to lose? Like literally, what do you have to lose? And when you have that level of passion and boldness and maybe a little bit of naivety mixed into all that, that creates a super powerful trifecta of energy that literally anything can happen in that realm. And that's what I decided. I just told myself, I'm just gonna step this thing up. I'm gonna figure out how to buy and sell apartment buildings and commercial real estate. And within a 7-year period, I was able to create a $12.5 million business that literally was just so fun, so gratifying, so rewarding. And then my twin brother got sick. And that's when my entire life changed. I was 39 years old, got the phone call from my brother one day of, hey bro, I'll never forget where I was. I was driving to my home on the water in Florida. And my brother says, are you sitting down? I said, well, yeah, but this is a long time ago. This is like when you could drive and talk on the phone at the same time. And I said, yeah, I'm just driving from the office, heading home. And he said, well, I'm at the hospital. I just need you to know that I got diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And when you get news like that, it's like, talk about a time standing still moment again. Like everything, I just felt like everything went quiet, and it was just so surreal. It was hard to process it. I was like, yeah, you're joking. Come on, man. You're pulling my leg. And he's like, no, bro, I wish I was. And, that was a big wake-up call for me. The doctor told my brother he had 2 years to live. And literally almost to the day of that diagnosis was 2 years that he lived. And during that time, we had amazing conversations, very powerful conversations. And I'll never forget, one of the things he said to me was, man, he said, I feel like I didn't live my purpose. I feel like, he said, I was just so busy working and, taking care of the wife and kids and his wife was working. But he said, I didn't really feel on point in my life. And I remembered back to that time when I was 14, to that time, that epiphany that I had. And I said to him, I made him a promise. I said, I kind of feel the same too. It's like I'm working in this real estate thing, but I'm not doing what I'm meant to do. I'm meant to live and teach about money, empower people to not be enslaved by money, but rather be empowered by it. And I made a promise to him on his deathbed. I said, I promise you that for you and for me, I'm going to go out and live my life to the fullest so that, you can look down from heaven and go, that's it, bro. You're rocking it, man. You're doing it. And I've always visualized, like, when it's my time to transition through that tunnel, that white light tunnel, I'd be high-fiving all the way down because I showed up, I did my best, and I lived my purpose. And, you might be listening to this now, and you might be, based on everything that's going on in the world, you might be reevaluating your life. Maybe you're looking at things going on around you and saying, oh man, this is weird. Things are just bizarre right now. I saw a funny meme the other day that said, I'm just going to go ahead and hang up my holiday decorations in July and call it a year. I was like, that's perfect, right? So, if you are someone, I guess this is the message I have for you. If you are someone who is struggling right now, who is really looking for answers or could use a refreshing viewpoint on the markets and money and financial security and investing, we're your people. I think there's a reason you found our channel, Financial Revolution Radio. I think you need to trust that tune into our episodes. We drop new episodes weekly here in our channel. You can follow us. If you want to hear more from us, you can get us over at sterlingstockpicker.com. I'll leave all the details in the description. But, check us out. I'm here to support you. I'm here to assist you. I'm committed to my purpose. I'm committed to helping you get through this time, and not only just get through it, but also thrive through it. We have to remember back during the Depression, which was prior to this time, one of the most financially devastating times in our history of the world. During that time, there were major structures that were built. So you had 80% of the population in a breadline, and the other 20% literally rocking it in business and development, and whatever they were doing, they were getting some of the largest projects financed in the history of the world, even at that point, which was the Golden Gate Bridge, the Empire State Building. Those two projects were some of the most expensive projects that had ever been built. And yet the funding was there. An entrepreneur came in and said, man, I'm going to figure out how to build this thing right now. There was a need for the Golden Gate Bridge. And they got the financing, they got the funding. So take this to heart. Take this to heart that, we are in unprecedented times. And we're also experiencing times that it's unprecedented opportunities out there. I mean, this, you get a sense for this, but you have to finally tune your vision to those opportunities. Because if you're just listening to lamestream media and buying into what everyone else is doing, you'll end up the exact same way they are. It makes sense and good reason to do things differently than most people in order to experience a different result, a better result, a result that will serve you and your family for generations to come. We are in the middle of a financial revolution, and the things that we do today, I mean now, will impact our future. And if you're sleeping at this time, I'm going to encourage you to wake the heck up, because things are happening quickly. Things are happening around us, and you may be missing some incredible opportunities to take advantage of. So what does it look like to be awake during this time? What it looks like is to do your own independent research, to find channels like mine that are speaking the truth of what is really going on during this time, and how to take advantage of this time in terms of financially, in terms of business opportunities. Remember, a job stands for just over broke. And 40% of the population in the United States that earn $40,000 or less a year are unemployed. So maybe I'm speaking to you. Maybe you fall in this category where you go, I don't have a job. I don't know what to do. That's okay. Then consider looking for something that speaks to you, that's filled with purpose. Right? The part of you that has always been there. Maybe you've tucked it away on a shelf somewhere, and you need to go and grab that off the shelf and look at it again from all angles and ask yourself, okay, what can I do today to live my purpose, to bring my purpose into physical form, into action, into something that I actually do and love and enjoy? Because here's the neat thing about when you're earning money aligned with your purpose, you need less money to feel fulfilled. It's an incredible thing, because you're going to go through life, if you're in a job that you don't like, then it's going to be all about the money, because that's how you're going to justify trading all those hours of your life for that job. You're going to say, as long as I'm earning a good money and I've got good benefits, right? Oh, don't forget those benefits. I'm going to stay. And yet you're not happy. You're not fulfilled. There's something more for you. So this is a time now more than ever. It's literally game on. You got to step up and step into what you're meant to do here. because then you have a shot at living life totally fulfilled and totally on purpose and on point. Wouldn't you like to live like that? Wouldn't that be awesome? Where every day you get to wake up and say, yes, I get to do this. That's a desk banging moment if there ever was one. Yes, I get to do this. I get to live a life that's fulfilled. Now, it's not the easiest road because someone isn't there giving you the cha-ching, cha-ching. You're having to earn it on your own. It's a whole different ball game, but it's one of the most fulfilling, one of the most remarkable journeys you will ever take. You will learn so much about yourself. You will get to whole new levels of understanding of how people work, how the markets work, how the economy works, how money works. So this is, my friends, this is your time. This is your time to shine. From one financial revolutionist to another, you've got this. It's time to step up and step into what you're meant to do. You know, we also have this incredible software here called the Sterling Stock Picker software. If you're, like I mentioned to you, how I found my financial freedom was through a period of 9 years learning how to invest in the markets. And that literally changed my life. It allowed me to retire at an early age, 31, and then funnel that money, parlay that into a business. So what I've done here is I've taken 31 years of my high-level expertise as an investor, and I packaged it into what we call the Sterling Stock Picker. I've got two partners on this project. We're super proud of what we've accomplished and how we can help you through this. As it says there, you don't need to be an expert to invest like one. We've got a free 21-day trial. Just check it out if you're interested. If you too want to find some winning stocks but aren't sure how to go about it, this was built for you, the newbie investor, to figure out how to become financially free. I'm going to talk a lot about our software on these shows because I believe in it, because it's changing lives every day. At least once or twice a week, I get an email from a subscriber saying, thank you so much for this software. This week, I just earned 128% of my money. Like, yeah, exactly. Yes, you did. So it's returns like that what can change your life financially. You don't have to settle for low interest rates at the bank. I mean, heck, even the US is looking at negative interest rates, which means in order to hold cash at the bank, they're going to reach in and take money out of your account for the privilege of holding it. This is the world that we exist in. We've got to be able to dodge and bob and weave with what's being thrown at us, and that's what we're going to do. That's what I'm committed to share with you on this show, the Financial Revolution Radio. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. Please share our show with your friends and family. You can find us on every single major Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher Radio, YouTube, of course. We're out there, iTunes Radio as well. So please share our show. We greatly appreciate it. We're here to serve you, and we know that you too can become a financial revolutionist in your life, and you can make the changes starting now, and we're here to support you. Thanks for your support, and looking forward to seeing you on the next show.